This is the B Block, where some of our favourite commentators have the chance to sound off on an issue important to them. Considering they like to position themselves as the voice of reason, Remoaners and the pompous left sure are prone to hysteria. Case in point, faux Brexiles in the celebrity world so disgusted, they say, by the results of the EU referendum all of those years ago and the majority of the nation's support for the Tories that they're vowed to up sticks and abandon Britain altogether. Hilary Mantel, author of the Wolf Hall book, is the latest Liberal loudmouth to make this so-called threat, saying that she is ashamed of the UK government and intends to become an Irish citizen so she can be European again. Time will actually tell if she goes through with it, but I won't hold my breath. Not when we've had Jamie Oliver declaring, "Give me Boris effing Johnson as our Prime Minister and I'm done. I'm out." Not when Emma Thompson returned to the UK after calling it a cake-filled, misery-laden grey old island following a brief flirtation with Italy. And not when Steve Coogan and Hugh Grant, two of my utter favourites, not continue to live here despite branding the country depressing and finished, respectively. When are these woke elites going to put their money where their mouth is and vote leave with their feet? Well, joining me on this tonight is Darren Grimes, host of Reasoned UK. Darren, are you waving Hillary off?
Oh, I absolutely am at this point. I tell you what, I think we all get a little bit annoyed, don't we, when, say, a sports team doesn't win a match that we support, or a political party that we perhaps voted for doesn't win an election. But there's a really odd trend with the sort of chattering classes that says that an election or two, because they haven't gone your way, you ought to become a sort of self-hating Brit. You've read out some of the statements there. I mean, Hilary Mantel saying that she's ashamed by the UK for its treatment of migrants and asylum seekers and therefore intends to become an Irish citizen, to become European again. Well, Dan, last time I checked, we'd left the European Union, not the continent of Europe. She then says she'd breathe easier in a republic. And I have to say, Dan, I'm a little bit tired, to be quite honest with you, of those who accept damehoods and other gongs from this country, finding extraordinary levels of succour, support and success in this country, then going on to talk Britain down in this way. As perhaps one of the most famous, I think, historical fiction writers in the land, you would think Hilary Mantel would be screaming from the rooftops how proud she is to be British, boasting of the fact that she's got all this knowledge, that we're one of the world's greats. I mean, I reckon in being British, as far as I'm concerned, you've won the lottery of life. We even have, and GBNews viewers will be aware of this, we even have esteemed broadcasters and columnists like you, Dan, who want to come and live in our country. Britain led the world, right, in making the modern world as we know it today, right? The fruits of modernisation. Democracy, common law, institutions, art, even vaccinations, right? Transportation, trade and exchange. I don't think it's healthy to denigrate your country in this way, a country that has done really great things around the world, just because a vote didn't go your way, right? I mean, what's Mantel going to do if Ireland votes against another European treaty, like it's done on no fewer than 2 occasions, by the way? Is she going to try and find some other English-speaking country that she can go to? I just find it incredibly frustrating that these people that perhaps we've loved and admired for years and years, you know, Emma Thompson's acting, for example, Dan, I love her as an actress, but then she says all of these things. It's such a shame, isn't it, when someone ruins how you view them by saying something about us.
The thing for me, Darren, is that I don't mind these people having an opinion. I don't mind Emma Thompson having a bold opinion, but the problem is they don't seem to want people who disagree with them to have an opinion. They don't seem to believe in democracy, and that's what's so disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie Oliver saying, of course, that if Boris Johnson became PM, he'd be done with the UK. I can only say for the love of God, I really wish that were true. That he is one of the biggest, miserablest proponents of the nanny state who wants to stop us eating cake. And then, of course, Emma Thompson speaks about the fact that that's all that we do in this country is eat cake, as she flies over on transatlantic flights for Extinction Rebellion protests here in this miserable cake-laden island.
In first class, Darren, remember that, in first class.
Exactly.
With salmon carpaccio, which probably isn't farmed in the way that
there we are, yes, sustainable
want.
And all the rest of it. I think for me, you raised a really important point there. It's about the arrogance, isn't it? That assumes that their opinion, their voice, their vote, that's all that matters. And to hell with the democratic process. And personally, right, I hope that each and every one of them does actually decide to take up and leave, because snobby, sneering lovies who don't really like the inhabitants of this dreary rock that they speak of, I think, on which they happen to be incredibly successful, incredibly loved, liked, and that people go out to buy their movie tickets, their cookbooks, their history fiction. And I think it's a privilege, really, to be part of this country, and a privilege which this, I guess, pratty petulance espoused by these people is really, it betrays, I think, the faith and the trust and the love that the British people have actually put into these celebrities. So I say best of luck to them in Ireland. Let's hope they don't vote against another European treaty, because I don't know where they're going to be going next, that's for sure.
Well, look, it's the arrogance, isn't it, of the entertainment industry on the whole, Darren. I think about this a lot, actually, because increasingly you have Hollywood and also the British entertainment industry who really only want an audience that is about 48, 49% of the population. So in the US, they only want Democrats to consume their products, and all of their products are aimed at Democrats. You know, the movies, the TV shows, they're all incredibly woke, incredibly political correct, and portray anyone who votes Republican as some sort of freak. And in Britain, including with BBC dramas, they only want Remoaners, which we know is only 48% of the country. So what fascinates me is they're not even thinking with their business brains, are they? Because what they're doing is turning off a big proportion of potential consumers.
And I think it's because they live in this sort of bubble, right? They live in a bubble where the only news they get is from left-wing media that speaks adoringly of them, and they perhaps read their Twitter feeds a little bit too often. They're following all of their celebrity friends on Instagram and all the rest of it. And I think, right, ultimately, if these people really do dislike the country so much so that they're talking about packing their bags and climbing aboard the sort of Irish lifeboat, or probably a luxury speedboat in their cases, then I'm sorry, but you're going to miss out ultimately. I wonder how many Brexit voters, for example, I doubt we're alone in this, in being disappointed, and I go back to the Emma Thompson case, in disappointed in hearing someone speak so patronisingly about you and your country, about you being perhaps not as intelligent as them, high up there on their celebrity pedestal, after you've supported all of their movies and bought their DVDs and things like that, made them millions so that they can fly over here first class from America and lecture us on how we're not doing enough to tackle climate change, for example. I think it just smacks of hypocrisy. And for Emma, of course, Emma Thompson came back to the UK because of the coronavirus and suddenly decided that actually it was a good place to live as far as when the world has been savaged by the pandemic is concerned. So it's just the inherent hypocrisy and wanting to, dare I say, have their cake and eat it.
Indeed. Darren Grimes, brilliant analysis as ever. Thank you so much for being here. We'll talk again next week.